we first started the band, we had just 2 guitars and bass and drums, and I wanted it to be like that so that we could always be a band at the end of the day. If, there was a power cut, well, if there was a power cut we wouldn't be able to play, but that kind of thing. We can always go back to basics and slowly introduce the laptop, and then 2 laptops, and then Mike's got his drum machine, and the plans for the second album certainly. I don't know if the guys are aware, but I definitely want Mickey to start playing actual triggers on his drums, so he actually really is playing them instead of his little thing, and all sorts of new stuff. But the live, we always try and replicate it live and not let it sort of govern the way we record. I mean, there is some stuff in the album that we can never do live.
We had to work out the songs. Most of the records worked out in rehearsal, so it's we were limited in the way we worked them out. A lot of bands will just go have like a skeleton, and then they'll go into the studio and then pad it all out, and then you come out of that and you have to sort of water down what you've already created, when you go into a live environment. But we did all that sort of putting the flesh on it in rehearsal.
Because we almost started with the recording before a song, because I would say, here's an arrangement, and they say, well, we can do this live in the rehearsal room. So it becomes this other thing first, and then it kind of goes back to the studio for the sort of 3rd, 4th time round, and then out to live again. But all the songs on the album started in pretty much the same way, bar maybe one of them, which is usually I would start writing it on guitar or just straight into the laptop, and either way it's going to get to the laptop pretty quick, and I'd make some kind of little arrangement, usually unrealistically like complicated to actually play, so like 20 drum parts or something stupid that we can't actually do. Whatever I think is good at that moment, I'll do it, and then say, here we go guys, this is the song, and then have a listen and go, that's good, there's no possible way we can ever play that bit, but we'll try and do this instead, and we should put that bit here, and this could be a bit faster, and that's in the wrong key, and basically make it into a more palatable, realistic piece of music, because I can be quite sort of what our songs are like anyway. They're sort of all over the place, and when I first create them, they tend to be even more so, and the guys shape it and make it more our sound rather than my crazy sort of laptop doodlings.
All 4 of us have very different influences, so I mean, if you listen to the album all the way through, I don't think you could really pin one song in a particular place. I think John usually starts off the songwriting, so I guess his main influences would be in the sort of the embryonic stage of the song, and then when we all go through it and put what we need to put into it, or put it in different directions, sort of ends up in this sort of hazy mid-ground of what we're all into, I guess. So I think that's why people are finding it hard to say, from song to song what the influences are and things like that. So
the more times I get asked it, the more I think we're not really that influenced by other musics. I mean, obviously we are, obviously we haven't created, anything new at all, but we don't really think in those terms. 2 of us have a strong northeastern connection. Yeah, I was born in Newcastle, and we grew up on the Cumbrian border near the Roman Wall in a little village called Gilson. Well, I did anyway. And Mike, the drummer, lived in Corbridge most of his life. We went to school in Hexham. I feel more of a Newcastle band than we do a Manchester band, really, because half of us, this was our whole childhood and everything. We've lived in Manchester for a while, but this is really where our heart is. I think trying to be a band in Manchester is a lot easier than it is in a lot of cities, including Newcastle. I think it's much more ready. It's more kind of set out. There's more promoters, there's more venues. I mean, I don't know the statistics, but it seems that way certainly, and it seems like a more realistic thing to do. Quite a lot of places you try and be in a band and it's a little bit of a joke, or it's not like a serious thing. But in Manchester, people are like, oh right, you're in a band. It's like it's just easier basically, and the history of it means that every time something happens there, people immediately go, what's going on? What's going on? Whereas in a lot of cities, you can try your heart out to make a scene or make a noise, and people will just be like, oh, it's Birmingham, I can't be asked.